Chers amis, je vais me permettre de parler en français. Je quitterai ensuite la session pour aller discuter dehors avec quelques syndicats pour ne pas qu'ils viennent vous voir, vous. Donc, mais je me permettrai de revenir dans la journée parce que le sujet est passionnant. Donc, chers amis, chers collègues, mesdames et messieurs, c'est une grande joie de vous accueillir toutes et tous sur le magnifique site du Pharo qui abrite le siège d'Aix-Marseille Université. Je remercie Viktor, que je connais puisqu'on est rentrés ensemble dans un même laboratoire en 2005. Je remercie Viktor de m'avoir invité et d'avoir organisé cette session et ce congrès si important. Alors, particulièrement quand on sait que l'édition 2021 avait dû se tenir entièrement en format digital, dans un contexte que nous avons de préférence envie de garder dans nos mémoires, mais pas dans nos cœurs. Pour celles et ceux qui viennent de loin, je sais que nombre d'entre vous venez de l'étranger, donc je sais que quand vous retournerez chez vous, vous aurez quand même une belle vue de Marseille et vous pourrez vous dire, bien sûr, à quel point Marseille est une ville exceptionnelle malgré l'agitation actuelle de notre pays. Je pense que vous aurez passé un excellent séjour avec de remarquables travaux, je n'en doute pas. C'est bien sûr avec fierté que nous organisons un tel événement, que nous accueillons un tel événement, d'en être l'hôte, d'assister à la mise en lumière de l'excellence des réalisations scientifiques de Human Brain Project, au moment où ce projet phare, entamé il y a 10 ans, approche de sa conclusion. La communauté de la recherche sur le cerveau est particulièrement nombreuse et investie sur le site d'Aix-Marseille. Nous avons la chance ici de créer des liens particuliers, fructueux, entre l'université, mais aussi la recherche publique et le monde socio-économique. Ces efforts conjugués permettent de réussir de très belles choses. Le fait que nous soyons ensemble ici en témoigne, mais ces efforts conjugués permettent aussi de donner un sens très fort au projet collectif dans lequel nous nous sommes engagés. Le monde a toujours eu besoin de la science et de la connaissance, et nous sommes des générations d'acteurs académiques à avoir transmis nos savoirs et à s'être investis dans la recherche. Cependant, à Aix-Marseille Université, nous sommes convaincus que la période actuelle réclame davantage. Les liens entre le savoir que nous construisons, que nous diffusons, et le monde dans lequel nous vivons doivent être renforcés, c'est notre conviction. Notre mission première au sein d'une université, notre rôle et nos missions les plus fondamentaux, c'est d'aider la jeunesse à se former et plus largement à construire son avenir et par conséquent celui de notre territoire, de notre pays, de notre monde. Cette jeunesse a connu des crises multiples au cours de ces dernières décennies, sanitaires, financières, climatiques, une guerre aussi, notamment, et même s'il serait possible de développer tout cela, je vais m'en abstenir, nous n'en avons que trop conscience. Dans ce contexte, cette jeunesse a besoin d'espoir, de sens, de pouvoir croire en l'avenir. Peut-être que tout particulièrement en ce moment, notre capacité collective à apporter des solutions, à construire des outils d'analyse lui est totalement indispensable pour ne pas sombrer dans le désespoir et être en situation d'imaginer et surtout de construire un avenir meilleur. Nous avons donc cette conscience du rôle que nous pouvons jouer à ses côtés, car l'étendue des découvertes en biologie, en physique, en chimie, en mathématiques, en informatique, en neurosciences ou en médecine est immense. Les perspectives ouvertes par vos travaux sont considérables et je mesure toute la portée de ce qu'une meilleure connaissance du cerveau apporte comme bouleversement majeur dans de multiples domaines. À Aix-Marseille Université, le choix que nous avons fait d'être une université socialement engagée se traduit aujourd'hui par la volonté de rendre accessible au plus grand nombre ces découvertes et ouvre de formidables horizons. Je tenais donc en ouverture de vos travaux à vous remercier pour ces univers nouveaux, ces univers du possible que vous avez déchiffrés, que vous choisissez de partager. Et c'est en explorant ensemble, c'est une conviction que nous avons, c'est en explorant ensemble que nous ferons société. Je vous remercie pour votre écoute et vous souhaite encore de nombreuses et grandes découvertes. Merci.
Merci, Eric. I'm calling to the stage the Scientific Chair of the Human Brain Project, Professor Katrin Amunts.
Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the summit here in Marseille. The summit has always been a highlight in the history of the Human Brain Project. And in our 10 years history, we aimed to meet at different places. So our kick-off meeting took place in Lausanne in Switzerland. Then we went to Heidelberg, Germany for the second summit. And then to the third summit to Madrid, Spain. And we had even the pleasure that Queen Sylvie participated in one of our meetings. So at the end of the so-called ramp-up phase in 2016, we released the platforms, that is 6 ICT platforms that have been made available to the science community. And this release opens the operational phase of the Human Brain Project. Then the next summit took place in Florence in Italy. And those of you who were there, you probably remember that we had an amazing number of students and pupils. I think there were 400 younger people at the science market, which was really a cool event. Then we went to Glasgow, Scotland. And although it was raining, as it is supposed to rain always in Scotland, this was again a great event to meet, to discuss science, and to enjoy research in many lines. We had an event in Maastricht, the Netherlands, in 2018, where Commissioner Gabriel has visited us. And again, the science market was one of the core activities of the whole summit. And Athens, Greece, the 7th summit 3 years ago. Our Brussels summit was a hybrid event, but most of you have followed, of course, the lectures and the presentations and panel discussions from your laptops. And to have a poster session via Zoom is not as nice as to have it physically. So we tried really to do our best to make the best out of it and to make it a memorable experience. And it was important to have it, also to have not such a long time for the next physical event, which is here now, which is in Marseille, in this beautiful Palais Faro, where we are meeting in the next days. And we are happy to see that there are 617 registrants from 33 countries. And we understand that not everybody is here, and we also see that this summit might not go as smoothly in preparation as we should have expected after 8 other summits. But still, many of you are here. Some of us are still on the way, and it's really great to see how people try to rearrange flight and to find solutions if something is cancelled. So we are looking forward in the next 5 days for speakers in keynote lectures, in panels, in smaller lectures, in discussions. You have seen already a science market with participants from industry and academia. We will have many posters and invite you to discuss the contents of the posters with the poster owners. And what the summit should bring is not only to discuss what was happening in the last weeks, months, and years, but we would be very pleased if you find new partners, if you create new projects, and if you have perhaps ideas what you can do together. So this is what the summit is for. And although this is the last scientific summit of the Human Brain Project, we wish that it is for you an entrance and a starting point for new projects, looking into the future, using the tools that we have developed in our research platform, EBRAINS. Familiarize yourself with what is possible with these new tools and find ways to tackle most difficult questions about brain research. So welcome very much to the Summit 2023 in Marseille. Thank you for coming, and particular thanks also at the beginning, because I'm aware of these many challenges organizational way, to the program committee, to the organizational committee, to the media team, to the local team, all those who made it possible that this is an experience that you would not like to miss. Very warm welcome. So now it's my pleasure to introduce a pre-recorded speech of Commissioner Gabriel, our Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. And Commissioner Gabriel has followed our project for several years. And we had the pleasure to welcome her in Maastricht in 2018. This year, unfortunately, other commitments have prevented her from being here in person. Therefore, we are now looking forward for her greetings, which she has recorded for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to address you all at this Human Brain Project Summit. This meeting is an ideal moment to reflect on the achievements of the flagship Human Brain Project, HBP, which is approaching its end later this year, and discuss the way forward in making European brain research as strong and powerful as it can be. The brain is a fascinating organ to study. This chef d'orchestre is responsible for our intelligence, interpreting sensations, initiating body movements, or controlling our behaviors. When brain disorders strike, they generally have a direct negative impact on our lives. Disorders like stroke, migraine, dementia, and depression are a leading cause of disability in Europe and worldwide. They are also a great burden for patients, families, caregivers, and healthcare systems. Therefore, we need to develop new, improved, and more personalized treatments in order to better understand the brain. Research and innovation play a particularly important role in the brain area to deliver concrete solutions for patients and healthcare professionals, as well as evidence for policymakers. For these reasons, we have provided long-standing support to research and innovation, as well as coordination in this area. I'm very pleased to see that the Human Brain Project has delivered an impressive number of scientific achievements, thanks to the hard work done by the HBP community and Professor Katrin Amunts in particular. Thank you. First, the project has produced the most detailed atlas of the human brain, contributed to measuring consciousness, and is improving epilepsy surgery with digital brain models. Second, the HBP has further advanced knowledge of neural mechanism underlying vision as well as memory. It has contributed to the development of a brain implant to help blind people see. It has used neuro-derived technologies to make machines smarter, and it has improved robots by mimicking the brain. The advances made by the HBP are also notable in the capacity to customize and personalize brain models, including how the predictive power of these models is increasing. This is important for the discovery of early disease biomarkers. Finally, leveraging these scientific advances, the Human Brain Project has developed the EBRAINS research infrastructure. EBRAINS is a unique innovation in making high-performance computing available to brain research, enabling data and compute-intensive research. Its ambition is to provide the scientific community at large with cutting-edge data and tools to run virtual experiments and accelerate brain research breakthrough. Since 2021, EBRAINS has been included in the European Roadmap for Research Infrastructures, the ESFRI Roadmap 2021, which should facilitate its wide use and further development. Now is the perfect time to reflect on these achievements. You have built this great research infrastructure with cutting-edge data and tools. Let's ensure that the broader brain scientific community benefits from this digital infrastructure in their daily work. I would therefore encourage the research community to make the best use of EBRAINS tools and services that they deem as essential to enable discoveries and innovation. The time is indeed ripe to reflect on how to further strengthen brain health research in Europe. The extent of the challenges, which include the rapidly growing impact of the aging European population, its declining mental health, or the complexity of brain health, require a highly coordinated support. As I mentioned earlier, our long-standing support to brain research has covered the full spectrum from basic research, translational, clinical research, to more public health-oriented activities. The European Union has already supported several initiatives aimed at improving coordination and supporting the brain European research area in order to avoid fragmentation, duplication of efforts, and working in silo. This includes the HBP, of course, and other initiatives with partners in Europe and globally, such as the European Joint Programme on Neurodegenerative Diseases Research and ERANET Neuron, with research into mental disorders, neurological conditions, and sensory disorders. I'm very pleased to see that representatives from these initiatives are present in this summit. I hope that the exchange of views, notably on the key achievements, the future of digital brain research, brain health emerging as a European policy priority, and on the federated computing infrastructure, will be of particular added value. I know that you have already started to reflect on the way forward, taking into account a common agenda on brain research developed through the European Brain Research Area project for Europe, which also sets strategic links with international initiatives. Such a common agenda should promote coordination and enhance synergies in brain research. Our member states and associated countries have already signaled willingness to further step up their coordination in brain research by developing the European partnership in this area. This would certainly reinforce the position of Europe on the global scene of brain research. In order to achieve this goal, we need a clear and ambitious strategic research and innovation agenda, capitalizing on all existing initiatives and leveraging their individual power. I'm sure that during the summit, you will pursue your reflections on how main achievements of the Human Brain Project could further move this process forward. Now, thank you for your attention and have a very successful summit.
Thank you so much, Viktor. Dear colleagues, I'm really delighted to see you all in this magnificent Palais du Faro for the closing summit of the Human Brain Project. We could not have been more fortunate with the venue. That's truly impressive in all meanings of the words. And I'm very glad that we are meeting in Marseille, because Marseille and the Aix-Marseille University in particular has become a powerhouse of brain research, a point of reference also on how to integrate experimental, theoretical, and clinical approaches towards understanding brain function and dysfunction. So thank you for having us today, Viktor and the team. I'm sure it has been a numerous team working on making today's meeting happen. So it was back in 1989 when George Bush signed into law a resolution declaring the 1990s a decade of the brain. And when the HBP started in 2013, another decade began, that of digital brain research, which our project has so importantly pioneered. It was an innovative, daring initiative with all that courage in science brings. Splendor, gripping sense of discovery, but also occasional controversy and critique. The HBP drew on the incredible technological advances in brain research, utilizing new tools that allowed for the study of entire populations of neurons in different regions of the brain, with the underpinning supercompute capability that rightly has put brain research on par with the most important scientific endeavors in the world. The multidisciplinary approach is what made the Human Brain Project unique, with more than 150 universities involved over the years. The project brought together neuroscientists, engineers, physicists, physicians, computer scientists, and importantly, philosophers and sociologists as well, because we have cared so much for the work we have done on ethics and society. Although anchored in fundamental science, the HBP has always aimed at societal impact. And through the predictive power of the personalized brain models, it is contributing in a decisive fashion towards breakthroughs in diagnostics and therapeutics. And the real value of this work, I sense, will only become clear in the years to come. And this will be timely as demography makes our societies struggle with disorders, with brain disorders on an ever-growing scale. The number of people with Alzheimer's disease is expected to triple by 2050. Direct healthcare costs attributable to dementia are projected to increase in Europe by 224% until 2040. So a genuine call to arms is needed across Europe and the world to invest more in brain research. The afternoon session on brain health, as an emerging European policy priority, will examine the impressive efforts of the European Commission that we have just heard about, the member states, but also neurologists, psychiatrists, scientists, and patients across Europe. We will discuss the forthcoming European Mental Health Initiative, due to be presented in June, and the new partnership on brain health that the Commissioner has just mentioned. We will see how they can equip Europe better to address the needs of prevention, treatment, care, and rehabilitation for patients. The success of a major project like the Human Brain Project is measured by its achievements, but it's also measured by its long-term impact on science. And this is why the idea of creating a lasting home, a lasting enabler for digital brain science in the form of what is today the EBRAINS research infrastructure was there from the beginning of the HBP, in fact. The goal of such a research infrastructure is to ensure that the science, tools, and approaches developed by the HBP teams are made available to the broader community, who will continue to co-design them, of course, to enable future breakthroughs. The success of EBRAINS is, therefore, what will confirm the true success of the HBP. This will require investment, especially European one, given the EBRAINS roots in a European flagship. We have made Italy, now we have to make the Italians, is how Massimo d'Azeglio put it in 1860, at the dawn of Italian unification. And we heard a little bit about this with respect to the research infrastructures from Commissioner Gabriel, namely, we have EBRAINS in place, now we have to make sure that the researchers find what they need in this infrastructure and that they engage with it as close as possible. Because research infrastructures have to be fully responsive to the evolving needs of science. Gladly, EBRAINS today is in high demand from scientists all over the world. And this is because it has the unique capability of integrating data and models on an unprecedented scale, on a globally unprecedented scale, one could add. It is this integration aspect that is a crucial part of its vocation. This is what makes EBRAINS special and decides about its added value. Operating a research infrastructure requires a different mindset than conducting a scientific project. At EBRAINS, the focus is on providing exceptional service to the scientific community. And to achieve this, what is needed is operational excellence, delivering high-quality services around the clock. The HPP has been a European project, but with global reach. We have engaged in the International Brain Initiative. In fact, we have spoken for Europe within that initiative. We have contributed to setting up the global data governance framework, and we have become a point of reference also with respect to ethics and responsible research innovation. And the study of the brain needs to be a global undertaking in which there is enough common agenda setting to avoid duplication of efforts. So when the history of the study of the brain, of brain research is written, the HPP will be remembered as one of the turning points in the discipline. And although there is still 6 months to go, I would like to pay tribute to all of you who have shown scientific passion and commitment in this quest to understand the brain. Future generations will definitely owe a great deal to you. So a massive thank you from my side. And with those words, I invite back Viktor Jirsa, now in his capacity as the local host, to address us this morning.
It is a pleasure seeing you here. Dear HPP leadership, dear Katrin, dear Pawel, dear chair of the stakeholder board, dear André, dear colleagues and friends, it's really a pleasure to address you here as your local host in Marseille, in particular at Aix-Marseille University. And I would like to take the opportunity to give you a local perspective, a local flavor of what it means to welcome you here, yeah? In particular, so Aix-Marseille University, I thank also the sponsors, Codemort, Siemens, and VB Tech, who have contributed financially, helping us to make this happen. From a local perspective, as a scientist, Aix-Marseille University joined the Human Brain Project, not in 2013, right in the beginning, but a year later. That was through my lab in 2014, through the first call, open call for external participants, the Space-Time Project. And it was an honor to join you here and contribute, bring in the virtual brain as a simulation ecosystem, which already existed at that time, and work out with the colleagues in HPP the aspects of personalizing brain models. That has been our theme over the last 9 years, in fact. And then, in this vague, loads of colleagues, laboratories in Aix-Marseille University followed. What you see here is Olivier David, for instance, who has taken a leadership role and co-leads the human intracerebral platform that has been a very important environment housing intracranial data. Or Andrea Brovelli, who's pushing forward the validation and inference activities that are very important in order to demonstrate that these data translated into models are real. And Maxime Guille, who's developing multimodal data sets that are unique in the world, covering multiple scales of individual patients in the single patient, allowing us to transfer this knowledge into model-based environments. And this has led us all the way to here, to a large team, allowing us to house you in Marseille. But it's not been just the local team. You see some of the members of the organization committee represented here. It's been actually a very large HPP-wide team with people in particular. I wish to highlight Tina and her team in Innsbruck has provided loads of technical expertise, or Lisa and Giovanna and Roberto that have run mostly the local organization. I just want to point out, yesterday night, given the circumstances that we are living in at the moment, they had to hire a van and go to the airport to pick up the brochures that were stuck at the airport, and in a night action they have moved them over to all of us, for all of us here, available here. So it is this team that has organized this event, and I really want to thank you for that. And preceding this event, there was lots of activity reaching out, not only to scientists, but also to the public. This happens typically on the local level, in the city. What you see here is Alcazar. It's an old, fantastic, emblematic building in the center of Marseille, not far from the Vieux-Port, which was created in the mid-90s as a theater house with very high ceilings across multiple floors, and that in the early 2000s has become a public library. And it has housed now for several weeks an exhibition of arts coming from science. Visualizations, visual art derived from structure across scales in the human brain, contributed by all of you. This exhibition has traveled from campus in Aix-Marseille at Lumini. This is a little further off in the national park, and then has come to Alcazar and will go to other areas in the world. And it is still accessible. I was told by the organizers at Alcazar, essentially, that people, when they went and saw the exhibition, they were awed by it, but they thought it was handcrafted. They didn't realize that it's actually real images and representations of the brain. Every time they learned this, they were very impressed. In the same building, there was another activity in terms of reaching out to the larger public. And France Nivelle from EBRAINS, she came down, and we had an evening that we spent together with 200 people, 100 people on site and 100 people online, talking with them, making a presentation of the achievements of the Human Brain Project, and reaching out and then debating the relevance of brain sciences and digital neurosciences. It was a wonderful event that happened 2 weeks ago in the context of the Week of the Brain, La Semaine du Cerveau. Other outreach activities in famous buildings. This here's the train station, Saint-Charles. Also a very symbolic building in Marseille, directly in the center, coming from the mid-1850 approximately. And working together with SNCF, we have put in place, we got a facade, a whole facade of this building. This is spans a width of 30 meters, 3 meters high, in collaboration, again, with you. Some of the arts on the left-hand side, you see the science translated into arts with explanations. On the right-hand side, working together with local artists who have actually built this mural that you see represented here. And if you go to the train station, you will see it. And actually, there is quite some thought behind that. When you look, so this is a mix of print and hand-painted, and you see there are elements in there. There are chips on the one-hand side representing the hardware aspect. The multi-scale is in there. Structures that you know from our work in HPP, you recognize in there. This is the artist's representation thereof. And allowing people, while they're waiting for trains, to learn about the Human Brain Project and about the science that we are doing here. And waiting for trains happens. It happens to all of us. It has strikes in Germany and France. Well, That has been a theme that has led to this event. Some of us are still traveling. We have to deal with that, and you will see that we will have more representations in terms of Zoom than anticipated. We try to reroute people, we try to generate online presence if possible. So we are doing our best, and again, thanks to the team that is helping to do this. But on the upside, there are also wonderful and positive things. There are some heroes that have made their most possible to come here. Something that touched me very much. Our keynote speaker, Michael Breakspear, 2 weeks ago, he sent me an email and he said, Vic, listen, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I got an international driver's license, and if I don't get the flight into Marseille, I simply fly into Barcelona and rent a car and drive from over there. Yeah? So thank you, Michael, for this immense effort. Marseille. It's the oldest city in France, going back 600 years before Christ. Founded by, so that says the history, by Greek settlers from Phocia. It was called Massalia at that time, and which refers to the rock that you see on the top left, on which there is a church being built, Notre Dame de la Garde, effectively. This is symbolic. When you look out of the window, the vitrine here, you see this Vieux-Port entry. This is exactly the site that you see with a museum behind that and boats moving out and in the whole day. When you go further outside of Marseille, you see a diversity of flora and fauna. The Calanque is represented here. A little further away, the Camargue and the Provence. So it's a wonderful time of the year, spending here in the spring. When you have a moment, maybe the weekend, walk through the Provence, the senses, the odors that you will have there. It's magnificent. Yeah? If you do not have time, then walk in Marseille. Yeah? Across on the other side of the harbor, you find the Panier, the section on the top left, yeah? Which is one of the old historic centers of Marseille. You will find an enormous diversity, heterogeneity in terms of cultures, in terms of architectures. I talked about scents, food, all the different scents that when you walk into the stores that you perceive there, it's magnificent. Diversity. Marseille is a living epitome of diversity. And this is actually something I wish to celebrate with you. Diversity and heterogeneity. And allow me to speak as a neuroscientist and as an applied mathematician to you. Heterogeneity matters. It actually matters in the brain. Yeah? The brain is a multi-scale system which generates neurodegeneracy, which is the basis for us to explore heterogeneity and diversity. Look at these papers here. Diversity, heterogeneity promotes robust learning. Heterogeneity is also protective. Yeah? The more diverse the properties of the individual cells, the less they have tendencies to be epileptogenic. Diversity provides options, and these options then translate themselves into redundance. And redundance means robustness, and translation into resilience against brain disease. Take this as a message. Yeah? Diversity matters. Please enjoy the diversity of our town here. Please enjoy Marseille. And I wish you to enjoy our last Human Brain Project Summit 2023. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président de l'Université d'Aix-Marseille, cher Eric, Mesdames et Messieurs les responsables du programme européen Human Brain Project, dear Katrin Amunts, Pawel Swieboda, and Viktor Jirsa, dear all. First of all, let me share with you my regrets for not being here today for this beautiful event held in Marseille, an event that will allow you to present and discuss the major achievements and future assets of digital brain research. understanding the brain remains one of the main scientific challenges of the 21st century, and indeed, understanding the complexity of the organization and functioning of the brain, of the human brain in particular, represents in itself a challenge for knowledge. Research in neurosciences allows us to improve the diagnostic and treatment of diseases of the brain and nervous system, which represents an unacceptable burden due to their human consequences. In that context, the Human Brain Project, launched and funded by the European Commission 10 years ago as one of the 3 European flagship projects, has been extremely useful to accompany the shift of neuroscience in the era of data science. Neuroscience is nowadays also a question of modeling, simulating, and emulating the functioning of the brain from the maximum possible data to obtain predictive representations effective and useful for understanding brain function and its pathologies. It allows also to design new technologies inspired by new knowledge about the brain, especially for robotics, artificial intelligence, and neuromorphic computer systems. With 19 countries involved, more than 500 researchers, and more than 2,500 publications, this project is clearly a success that underlines the strengths of the European coordination. France has always been strongly supporting the Human Brain Project. I would like to warmly thank Professor André Sirota for his strategic vision for neurosciences and his constant energy to foster ideas and talents. I am glad to see that our national tools, installations, or platforms contribute to this European ambitious network. I have in mind, in particular, Virtual Brain in Marseille, electroencephalography platforms in Lyon, Grenoble, and Marseille, or the most powerful magnet for MRI result in Saclay, a project achieved together with Germany, which will allow to reach a level of precision in the human brain imaging never reached before. The interest of neurosciences has been widely shared 10 days ago during the Semaine du Cerveau in several places in France. The knowledge and devices from all the countries involved in the Human Brain Project correspond to a major opportunity for all the scientists involved in neurosciences. After 10 years, the ambitious is still very lively through the EBRAINS platform, which will allow to sustain and amplify the technical knowledge and also data collected with the framework of the Human Brain Project. EBRAINS must contribute to provide the means that are still lacking today to integrate and process data at the multiple scales of analysis of the brain organization and decode the incredible complexity of the brain through computer tools, computational neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and also robotics. The explosions of knowledge about brain function and cognitive functions is driving innovation in medicine and neurotechnologies. This makes your project a formidable catalyst for discoveries in neuroscience, industrial innovations, and original medical treatments. The challenges of studying the brain remain at the heart of biology and health research, and the Human Brain Project has been a formidable instrument to meet the challenge, and I am sure that the Moment tool will continue through the EBRAINS project. Congratulations to all of you involved in the Human Brain Project for the impressive results obtained. And I wish you all a fruitful summit and also fruitful discussions. So thank you very much of all of you.